Hello, I'm Earl, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. With me, I have the former president of the collectivity of St.Martin, President Gibbs. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening.
Well, it's evening, morning, everything else.
It's everything at the same time. I'm fine, thank you.
That's good. That's good. You serve as a president of French St.Martin for 5
Yes,
5 years, right?
5 years. Yeah. 5 years from 2017 to 2022.
All right. So your name has been called a lot. They're saying Daniel this, Daniel Gibbs this. You didn't do a good job, or they got to clean up the mess and make sure things work out fine for St. Martin. What's really going on? Because I had another member from the Territorial Council here and leader of the Hope Party, Mr. Charville, and he said you guys have been very nice so far to the government. You've been very quiet and not really pushing as an opposition. What's going on?
No, many things. I do as an opposition what I would have loved that the opposition of the time would have done when it was my time of the mandate, especially when we had a hurricane called Irma, with 95% of destruction and all the work that we needed to gather and put in place in order to put back the country on track. Now, why this silence? As a matter of fact, we were not that silent in the sense that in Island Council, we are vocal on the subject that are presented to us as opposition, constructive opposition, I can say. But we left the media aside in the sense that we said, let's give them the 2 years, the year and a half needed to put in place their policy. They just came in, put everything in track, and then after we're going to be able at mid-mandate be able to be more vocal on certain things. But meanwhile, there was still some questions, some issues that were to tackle that we were verbal on, but on general base, we left that. What happens now is that you have a report that is done by a institution, a national institution, that controls the collectivities functioning, the communes, the departments in general. But that report is at the stage of a pre-report until it becomes definitive, I believe between now and the end of the year, December.
Charville mentioned that
yes,
only you and the president and someone else saw that report so far?
No. It was a report on because there was a previous report that was done until 2017. Because when I got elected, the result of the report was done until 2016. So now it's a report from 2017 to the time, I think, 2017 to 2024.
So you can't comment on that until it's
It's a pre-report and it's confidential until it becomes official. So I prefer not.
But you've seen it.
Yes, because it was part of my mandate as well that was audited, of what I understood. So I've been audited. The actual president has been audited on his part of his mandate from 22 to 24. But the préfet, the equivalent of your governor, had also a report. I would say they noticed to the préfet. They delivered a pre-report as well to the préfet, but also to the préfet of Guadeloupe, because he is officially the préfet for St.Martin, St.Barth, and Guadeloupe.
And the status is going to change too.
And the préfet in St.Martin has a delegation from that préfet. So
that's going to be
we should be going. Yes, we should be going to a full. In French, we say plein exercice. Un préfet de plein exercice is a préfet with full competence for St. Martin. We should, but the problem, Oral, is that you need to have as well all that goes with the competencies, all the French administration that needs to sit in. You cannot just have a préfet with full competence, but you don't have all the rest of the administration that follows those full competence for St. Martin and St.
I had Dr. Petty here, who was the fourth vice president. and he said that they're going to have that very soon.
Yeah, that's 2 years now that we're hearing that. But I know at my time, we were fighting with the préfet to have a préfet, a full exercise, like we say in French. But the reality is that the French government is reluctant until now because of this obligation that they would have as government to bring with the competencies to bring the administration. And that is the heavy part because it's a financial part. To bring the CAF, to bring the social part, all those administration that you have in Guadeloupe that the state has competence on, they have to be also in St.Martin.
Do we have the capacity to do that here?
Well, as I say, we would have the capacity if the state pays, because since it's their competence, it's for them to pay for that. So we will see if that happens. I think it would be a better thing because you would have a better center of decision. You don't have to go to Guadeloupe, even if we have a delegation with certain competences for St.Martin. But nevertheless, if you have full competences, it's always better, and you have a direct exchange with your préfet. Now, to come back to your question, stating that why the silence, it was not really a silence, but a period of grace to say that this government needs some time to put their policies in place and show to the population certain signs of what they committed themselves to. And as we go along, you will see that, and that report will show probably certain things. If the management was well done, if the finance are okay, if the process that was supposed to be putting in place, because when you deal with public money, you have rules and regulations that are different than when you are in private sector. So before election in 2022, everybody had all the best intentions and all the good ideas and how to function and how to deliver this, the domain land, all the nice things that they would put in place. But when you're elected and you're sitting on the seat of the president, you realize that you're on a hot seat and things are quite different than what you were saying. You've been sitting in opposition for all these years, so maybe at a given time we would think that you know a little bit of the functioning of a collectivity, and now the record is different. Okay. So that's why you have the opposition that is being a little bit more vocal on certain things, because we're having proof of bad management.
All right, in case you've just joined us, this is Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. My guest on the program is the former president of St.Martin, President Daniel Gibbs. We are speaking with him. They're 2.5 years now into this new government, of which you are in opposition. What's so interesting, though, is that you're in opposition along with Hope, but you're also the only opposition member in the executive council.
Yes, because we had enough seats to have a member of our list in executive council. So executive council is 7 members. Yeah. 6 of the majority and 1 of the opposition.
So those guys beat you up in that meeting?
So, well, they always have the majority as they have in Island Council. So, no matter what is said, they always have the last call.
I'm sure you still stand your ground, right?
Yes, because that's where we are vocal. Because it's in those institutions when we vote, and that's what I try to explain to the elected members, is that there's a difference when you bark and you discuss outside of those meetings, outside of those councils, and when you are in those councils, you're putting your vote to something, and we are in serious matters because the consequences can be enormous. So, well, we say when we're an island council with my group, we say what we have to say, we denounce what we have to denounce, and I do the same in executive council. The reason why it's important in executive council is because they took out most of the competences of the territorial council that they send to the executive council. So they have less discussion, less, I would say, opening to the rest of the elected members, because you take a lot of decision that usually should have been taken in executive in island council with all the other members. So now here you have just a few members that taking decision on a lot of more than just the functioning of the everyday functioning.
Okay. Mr. Sharvel was here.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke about a company that is purchasing land for the collectivity, and expropriation is now on the table.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, is that correct? By profession, you're also a notary, right?
Yes. You see, Oral, that institution that you're talking about is called in French EPF, Établissement Public Foncier. It's an institution that purchases properties for the communes, for local governments, but you have to take a membership. It's an institution that is from Guadeloupe.
Is it only Guadeloupe, because it says France as a whole?
No, each territory have their EPF.
Okay.
France has many EPF because you have in different region. It's by region. So in Guadeloupe, it's all the communes of Guadeloupe, because Guadeloupe is constituted by different communes. I don't remember exactly how much, but all the communes of Guadeloupe, because every commune has a mayor. So every commune practically is member of that EPF, Établissement Public Foncier. And you pay a membership per year, and they get subventions. They can get subventions as well. And the idea is that they purchase property for those communes when the commune have a vision of development, when they need to purchase the property, but they don't have the money to purchase the property, but they have to put a school, they have to put a public building, they have to do a public investment, and they don't have the means to purchase the property. So the EPF purchases for them if they are members, and then they give them a delay of 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 years to be able to buy back
4 years?
that
they're
property.
saying 5 to 10 years. But
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's up to 5. I don't know I'm not sure that is up to 10 years. I'm definitely not sure with that. It all depends. There's a lot of criteria. It depends on the price that they're purchasing the property, and I presume according to the price you have a delay that is more or less between 1 and 5 years. And honestly speaking, I never heard about 10 years, and I would be skeptic about those 10 years. I more believe it's between 1 and 5 years.
what happens if St.Martin cannot?
But the thing is, after Hurricane Irma, they came, and the membership was free for 1 or 2 years, and then after they asked us for member fee, it was between 400 and 500,000 euro per year. So I say, you know what? We detach ourselves from Guadeloupe. It is when that institution purchases the property, you are not the owner. They are the owner. Even if you have a convention with them stating that you will buy it back in the 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, they are the one that are the owner. They have a board. They have a board that takes decision. So the question is, what happens if you pass that delay where you have to repurchase the property from them, and you don't have the means for it because you're broke, because you have an incident, a weather incident,
So
a hurricane, and you
deal?
have other priorities, and you cannot repurchase. What happened? You're going to ask for an extension. What if the board do not give you that extension?
So this is what.
So which means that the board of the EPF can liberate freely the property whenever they desire, to who they want to.
So for my audience, because I have radio, television, and people really, I have so many things I want to ask you, so I'm going to move along a little faster.
Okay.
So then, according to other politicians, this company has forced St.Martin, the collectivity of St.Martin, to introduce expropriation of property. Is that correct or not?
Well, correct. They went through what you call preemption, droit urbain de préemption, and if they declare what you call in French utilité publique, public, I would say use, something is public use, then they can put along that expropriation process.
Is this only happening now?
Well, from the time I know the commune, the collectivité, I never heard about local government expropriating properties. I mostly heard negotiation to repurchase. I mean, all the public buildings, the schools that the commune at the time, collectivité afterward purchased, was always done in an amicable way, where they would discuss with the owners and they would get along with the price. And sometimes, we have succession problems in the families. So we will try and see if we can solve it. There's other situation where you can purchase a property and put aside the money until the heirs discuss their succession issues. So there's always a way of doing it without passing through that radical position of going through expropriation.
So now with that arrangement with this company from Guadeloupe, that is going to be possible?
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the company. The EPF, Établissement Public Foncier, it has nothing to do with the company. It's the local government that takes the decision of putting in place that expropriation process. And they mandate that company to follow up that process for them.
You're telling me that this government, okay,
yeah, it's a government.
By President Washington,
yeah,
it's going to do this to the people of St.Martin?
But that's what they're doing. They are the ones that are taking the decision in Island Council. They have the majority of what they are proposing to, and that's why we always say, as government and as opposition, and I think and I believe, because you mentioned his name, Mr. Charville, was on the same track that we were on when we say, no, you're touching the rights of the population. When you put a preemption, a general preemption, they started with that on the island, which means that whatever you sell as private, you need to give notice to the collectivity. We told them, no, it doesn't work that way. You have the possibility of doing it, but you're expropriating people from their rightful rights. Because if I have a property and I wanted to sell it to Peter, Paul, or Jack, I don't have to ask you authorization to sell my property. Plus, you're going to preempt and you're going to decide the price that you want, because you have to go to a service that is called Service des Domaines that does an estimation and then tells the collectivity, okay, if you want to purchase this property, this is the price that we fix. So if you want to sell your property and you got a client for X million, and the Service des Domaines says no, it's going to be half price than that, then if the collectivity preempt, they have.
I heard that happened with the Belle Creole property.
It happened with the Belle Creole, yes, of course. And the owners had to decline the sale because they said, no, we're not selling the property at that low price. And you see, it kills investment. But when you use those type of weapons, if you are the collectivity and you have a vision of development of a part of your territory, that's where you say, okay, you know what? We are envisioning housing, social housing in this area. We are envisioning a tourism structure for economical development. We are seeing on this other part XYZ development. You project your planification. That's why I told them as they came in, there's a document that you need to do urgently that we didn't get time to finish, but it's called le PADSM, St.Martin Planning Development. I say it maybe in the wrong way because in French it's Plan de Développement de Saint-Martin, where you do your own zoning, where you do your own planification. That document, as long as you don't do it, you don't have a vision of planification. And when you come to preempt or to expropriate, the rules and regulations and the French law says that you have to have a project for that area. You have to have a project that is financeable and financed. But you need to have a project shown of what public work you're going to do in that area, on that property. You just don't say, oh, I'm going to do a hotel in the Gulf. With who? With what? What is your financial plan? You understand? Yeah. So this situation is very ticklish in the sense that it takes out the rights of your population,
but
and that people
don't go for that.
But people didn't see that. People didn't hear that. Sometimes people hear what they want to hear, But the reality is that when we were an island council and we denounced the fact of putting a preemption right on total St.Martin just to fix one case, as a matter of fact, it didn't fix the Beaubeartree case. That didn't help to fix the Beaubeartree case.
You said that they're going to buy the property.
It didn't help to fix. Where the process was engaged is either the collectivité purchased the total of the property and that was it. Either they don't, but now you put and you strangle the entire island, the entire owners of land to pass through a preemption. Wow. And that's the reason why we were saying we understand that sometimes collectivité has projects on certain areas and they would want to have to save piece of certain properties to do their project. But for that, you need to come up with something that is tangible, something that is already planned, again, as I say, financially, but also on paper and approved by the Island Council, approved by government who also helps in those finance. And that's not the case. We are always saying, oh, we could do houses, oh, we could do schools, oh, we could do... What gives you the justification for that? Because everything you do in public, you need to justify. If you put a school, you have to say, because the numbers that we have do not permit us to have enough schools, too much children, you have to have X amount of children by school. So then you need an expansion, and then you have to take the decision, do we want an expansion or not in that sector? It's something that needs to have a planification. And here we don't have that planification.
But they will say, Gibbs and Charville are just talking because they're opposition. This is not really true. We're working hard. We're doing what we're doing. But you confirm what Charville said here on this program. As a St.Martiner, and I think both of us understand this island well as St.Martiners, French and Dutch side, we hold land very dearly.
Yes.
And land is spread out among multiple families.
Yes.
So for administration, in this case, French St.Martin, under the leadership of President Mussington, to introduce that kind of thing to St.Martin, I think is scary.
And dangerous. And you know what, Oral? I can guarantee to you that if Daniel Gibbs and his team at the time had taken the same decision, whether it was with the EPF, that institution from Guadeloupe that is purchasing the properties for them, or take the decision of preemption and expropriation, I can bet you him, his brothers, and his team would have been demonstrating with collective, like you saw them during my whole mandate. They would be bringing the people on the road and saying, oh, Gibbs is taking your rights. Gibbs is thieving your rights. Gibbs is imposing this. And that's the sad part of it. Because
they're doing just that now. They're stealing the people rights.
But it's obvious. You don't have many different ways. I mean, it's not because you said during your campaign that you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but you realize that when you're there, things are different. You realize that when you told the population that you were going to purchase those land and resell to the owners for €1 symbolic, you know you were lying. You lied again when you said that all the domains land and sandy ground, that you're going to resell it to those people for €1 symbolic. You lied again, because it was so easy during my mandate when he was saying in boosting. Yes, he was on the radio every single minute that you come out of Island Council, that you would have a meeting on something or he would notice something, he would be on the radio broadcasting. And that's the danger. Then you said, that's why I said, I prefer take the time, have tangible proof, and then we come with facts. But he told the people, it's very simple. President Gibbs just have to take a deliberation and say that the price of the land for domain is €1, 1 symbolic euro. We are 2 years now.
2.5.
2.5 years after he's been elected. Where is that deliberation? It was so easy to do. Where is that deliberation? The fact and the truth is that you have to negotiate with state, because it's not that easy. You need to have justice among what you're doing. There were certain people under Madame Hinson and Mr. Arnell, who was in charge of the urbanism at the time, They fixed the price at 42 euros, maybe a little less, but every year it was going up with a percentage. Okay, I think it was 5% every year. It will augment. That's what they fixed for the domain land.
Per square meter?
Per square meter. I found that was too expensive. Yeah. And for me, it was not a matter of selling and making money for the collectivity. I believe that people had their houses. Most of the cases is people who were living on those premises for years and years. For me, it was just a matter of regulation. But you cannot do a regulation for free, because neither in Guadeloupe, neither in Martinique, it was sold for €1. But if that was possible, then that's the track that I would be taking, because I prefer someone have his piece of property in his name that he can go and take a loan, continue building his house, modifying, beautifying his house, and then after he will pay land tax, after he will pay electricity tax, after he will pay water tax, etc., etc. But at least he has a base where he have his property in due form and due title in his name. That's in French you say le titre de propriété for a St.Martin in general is very important. So that's what I wanted to do. But it's not possible. Only very occasionally, in certain situations, you can do that. But there are criteria that are request. You need to have no revenue. You need to be on the social benefits. You need to be without a surrounding. There are many criteria. I will not name them all here today. But the numbers of persons that can get for €1 domain land is very little. Okay. Now we negotiate with state. Which is the service des domaines, we dropped down to €16 a meter square. That's why I said the numbers were not giving, because we did that and we said, okay, it's going to be 14, or it's going to be 16, or it's going to be 20, or it's going to be 42. No, that's not the way it was done. It was worked with the national government in Guadeloupe, le service des domaines, and we looked at each case, and we saw that in Guadeloupe and Martinique, the lowest the price went down was €16. Now, you know the price of land in Guadeloupe and price in St. Martin, or price in Martinique and price in St. Martin of land is totally different. We are much more expensive, especially when you're talking about surroundings close to water. Right. I mean, we are much more expensive. But still, I got the faculty to discuss and bring down the price at the same that in Guadeloupe. But we know that those properties, they don't worth €16. They were more than €16.
But more than 100 plus.
We agree, but that's not the point. The point is to get the people their title to be able to have. That's I would say. People who are living on those premises for generation. They never stop them from building the houses, right? So why not today make sure that those that are on those premises get their title, whether they have business that will have a different price, or whether they are doing or they're going through habitation. So that's the rules and regulation that we were following, and that's the concept that we were bringing in. After you had another problem, those who purchase at €42 overall. Today, when you say it's €16, that's why I'm trying to show you it was not easy bringing out a deliberation without a certain amount of justification that you will have to give. What are you going to tell them? Yesterday, they purchased, before the law, they purchased at €42 the meter square. And now today, those that are purchasing will have it to €16. Yeah. So at a given time, you have to take a decision, but you have to deal with those situations. You have to say and adjust the matter why you're coming to that. Okay. Why they can purchase for 42 and the others are purchasing for 16. So at a certain point, you need to give some clarification. So with all those problematic, it wasn't that easy. But one thing for sure, you couldn't take a decision by putting a deliberation and stating the price would be €1. Because if that was the case, Mr. Mussenton and his team would have done it since the first deliberation of that collectivity when they came in. 2 years now and a half, they haven't taken that deliberation. So, as I say, as we go forward, we are going to see facts, and we're going to see all the lying that was going on during that campaign. stating a certain amount of things and seeing that you cannot deliver, and now all of a sudden you're telling the people, oh no, but I have to see with the state, I have to do this with the state. Not really fair, but at least now there are certain things that we can talk on.
In case you've just joined us, I'm Oral Gibbs. This is Speaking of Everything. My guest is the former president of the collectivity of St. Martin, President Daniel Gibbs. This is Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. When we come back, we'll continue. Please stay with us. My guest here on the Speaking of Everything is former president of French St. Martin, President Daniel Gibbs. We're here to speak with him. They're 2.5 years into new administration, 2.5 years since you've been out of government.
Mm-hmm.
But you are in the executive council,
Mm-hmm.
the only opposition member in the executive council.
Yeah.
And
but I'm also in the island council, right, with all the other members in my group.
Now, every year for many, many years, I used to have, at least once a year, I would have Charville and I'll have Louis Mussington. When Mussington became president, we couldn't see him anymore. He forgot all about us. Until recently we got him here and he apologized and everything. I understand that people get busy. When you became president, it was different. We could get you here often. But the thing is, right, both you and the other opposition member in the council, which is Charville, voice your opinions privately, publicly about this deal with the airline, new airline carriers. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with it? Why can't St. Martin own an airline?
It's not a problem of owning an airline or having an airline. It's a problem of who is dealing behind the scene. We explain that we're not against having a new company or the continuation of the company that was there, because it's good competition in the sense that you don't have only one company that has the monopoly. So competition is fair. The only thing is that if you take all the example around us, Oral, it's not the place for government to be in those entities, because the fact is that you have other airlines that are managed by private sector and that are landing in grain cars and flying to Guadeloupe. You have Air Caraïbes, you have a St.Barth commuter that is flying to St. Barth. You have a St. Barth executive that is doing also charters from St. Martin to Guadeloupe or to St. Barth. You have Air France now maybe landing in Juliana, but who's flying to Guadeloupe. So when you are government, I'm not sure that you are in a good place to manage an airline. So maybe you can take some participation in a company that is already existing, that is already managed by professional, because when you touch airline, you're touching big spending, you're touching certain things where you have criteria that are very technical. I mean, it's a whole lot of difficulties. The situation in which the collectivité was coming to is that they wasn't seeing all the spending that they were going to be putting in place, or they will have to do. So they went to look for a partner who to find someone with a certain knowledge of managing an airline. So they took the managing company of the airport. A managing company of an airport, is not a managing of airlines. There's two separate worlds. So they came in for 40%. The collectivity for 60%. We showed them in 2023 September that the financial planning that they were showing us was false.
But you said they got it for 400,000 euros.
Well, you can see what it's costing them, because it's not the attractivity of what it costs. The costing is only starting now. You know, when you fly an airline, it's only when you start flying that it's costing you. And there, from the time they have been owner of that company, that they got it through the judge because it was a bidding, they probably get it for cheap that you think, but we showed them that all what they will have to do behind is going to cost them. So how did justify that? So they said, oh, don't worry, we have the means of our policy. I remember the words of the president. We have the means of our policy, which means that we have the money to spend to purchase an airline company. Okay, fine, but we're telling you that the planning that the financial planning that you're showing us is not possible. In that planning, they were flying, they purchased it in September 2023, and they were supposed to fly in October. 1 month, they will get the agreement to fly. That's not possible, we told them. Okay, fine. It was in October. Then they came back, they said, okay, November. Then it was in November, December, then it was in December, January, etc., until June, when finally they got an authorization to fly. And I won't go into the details of the condition because everything went wrong. When it starts wrong, it continues wrong, and that's a fact. The reality is 1 year after, we are up to 18 million that was spent and not a benefit coming in, and not a cent is coming in the collectivity of St. Martin, but 18 million was already spent between the capital, between the subvention that the collectivity keep putting in. Also, they couldn't call it a loan, augmentation capital, like we say, augmentation of capital. The fact is that they spent 18 million in something that is practically not flying, because it's not because you're flying one plane that you say always full, but we know that it's really flying with very few seats taken, and the rest is financed by the collectivity. But I'm going to tell you, that's public funding that you're using. And that is to the detriment of other projects, because they had to take off projects that we put in place for the collectivity of St. Martin, for the population of St. Martin. They have to take off finance on those projects that today can go forward to put to an airline company. Today, where they have a partner, that is the hurtful part, because I explained that in executive council to the elected members. The director of the company that they created, who is 40% in that company, came and asked for another 4 million. After asking the first time 6 million, the second time 6 million, they lost 4 million because of not seeing a debt that they would have in the company, so they had to pay that debt. And now he asking an extra 4 million. So we asked him, at what time the partner who earns 40% will put in 1 cent in a bucket? It's the collectivity paying everything. The collectivity owns 60% of the company. But from the day this company was created to today, the collectivity is paying fully for all the debts of that company. So I think they didn't realize that we are working with public fundings. And I told them that the experience that I had in the past, when we're talking about public funding, cannot serve private issues. You have a private partner in your company. He has 40%. He never put in a cent after constituting the capital. He never put in a cent. And every time we keep asking them, why don't you pressure that partner to put their part of the 40%? We don't have any answers. So you know what that's called in French system? Détournement de fonds, that is called. That's using public fundings for private issues, and where they have to fill in their obligation, they are not filling in their obligation.
But they had
little by little, you will see. And in the report of the Chambre Territoriale, the Chamber of Territorial Chamber, we will see the remarks that is done according to that investment. So we try to explain it is not a fact of having a new company. is it's just that it's not the means for a government to finance that kind of operation because it's difficult.
Because they got it for 400,000. Who will get five? They said 5 aircraft for 400,000 euros. But that's
ask them where's the aircraft and how much it cost them to fix the aircraft.
So
I mean, it's a game. I'm not competent to tell you what it takes to fly a company, but I can tell you, I took my information to professional operators of all type, and they all came back to the same thing. As a matter of fact, the president lied when I asked him if he met the other companies to see if they don't want to come with him to purchase that, which would be more feasible because other airline company would be in a bucket. They all told him, no, it's not a good deal to go into. So if you got that information from the inside, but you're still going, what does that mean? What is it? What is being hidden there? So you're going to say, oh no, because they didn't want a competition, but they would have been inside the company. They would have the means to direct things. How it wasn't a competition that they were doing for themselves because they would be part of it. But if they tell you no, that's not going to work because X, Y, Z. You know you have a problem.
Let me ask this. So they claim 400,000 euros is a steal of a deal for 5 aircraft, right? Today now it's 18 million and only 1 or 2 aircrafts are flying. When is the collectivity of St. Martin going to say, guys, it's too much?
Well, we're waiting, we're hoping, and it's not to say that it's just not to see the airlines flying. It's to say no, this is a stealing deal, but in the other direction, and the population will be suffering those consequences because up to today, it's only you paying. Let me tell you something. If your partner of 40%, and I'm coming back on that because it's important for the population to understand. Right. If the partner of that company who from the beginning has 40%, 40%, if he's not putting his part in the capital, if he is not putting €1 supplement on those first 6 million, second 6 million, 4 million, they lost the case in the court case, and now a new 4 million, if they haven't putting 1 cent, and they're telling you, yes, it's going to be profitable, it's going to be good, we'll be able to do this, I have faith in that company. Well, you have 40%, show me the faith, show me the love, and you put your 40%, and then I can start believing that you believe in that product. Because for the time being, it's the collectivity paying and you taking the benefits. That's what I'm seeing. Basically, let's call a cat a cat, a dog a dog. That's the vision, and that's what I'm trying to explain to these elected members, that the ethic of what we are seeing is not reflecting the good vibes and visibility of what you want out of this company. So tomorrow, Oral, I'm asking you because they keep telling us, you know what? Whatever money we give, it's going to be reimbursed.
Who's going to
So when you, the collectivity, so when you get bankruptcy, what reimbursement you're going to get? The money was spent. What reimbursement you're going to get? And again, I told you, when you start spending in an airline company is when the airline is flying. Those planes that they purchase is all rotten planes that was from years that needed to be changed anyway. So of course, they could have get it. The good planes were under a lease. And those, they need to pay the bank. So when they say they're purchasing 4 planes, on the planes that can fly or need to be revised and fixed, they are under a lease that they owe the bank from the beginning that they didn't pay. I mean, we can go into details of certain things, and again, the opposition on this specific file is not about not wanting the government to see the plane flying. They can call it whatever they want.
They want to see it fly, right?
But the conditions, the elements that we are bringing to the table are tangible. How you call it?
Tangible.
We bring proof of what we are backing, and we are showing Every time they come out and they say, okay, this is going to happen, say, no, it won't happen because this, because that. Okay, then you see it takes 1 year. Then you hear the president saying, at the beginning, you say, oh, our plane would be flying before the end of the year, before November. Then you hear it's January. Then you hear another day. And then you come and say, it's not easy to fly a company. So it's a miracle that we have the authorization after 1 year. It takes at least 1 year. But in September, when you created, that's not what you told us. And you didn't tell us that you were going to inject all that money afterward, because it was supposed to work one time. The airlines were ready. They was there sitting. They're going to fly one time. They're going to be producing one time. And we keep saying, no president, no president, no president. It's not so. Anyway, I think we tackle enough that subject to understand that no matter what the elected members of that majority can say, that's a rotten investment.
All right, I don't have much time, but in case you've just joined us, this is Speaking About Everything. I'm Earl Gibbs here with the former president of the collectivity of St. Martin, President Daniel Gibbs. He's my guest on Speaking About Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. Charbel said, and I'm using Charbel here again, that the campaign on the land that was promised to them by the now fourth vice president of the collectivity, Dr. Michel Petit. He was here in this program, and he said he's willing to give that land over to the government on the conditions. He needs to see certain conditions met. Are you familiar with this whole thing in this land?
I won't comment on that because I don't have all the details of what happened and why.
Did they campaign on some land?
Yes, of course. But you see, that's what I'm saying from the beginning, Oral. The campaign is the campaign, but people base on what you are telling them during a campaign. But at the end of the day, when you get in government, you see that things are not the same and things are not happening the same way, or either because you change your direction, either you realize that it's not possible what you were selling to the people. So on the cases that I don't know about, yes, of course, they spoke about it during the campaign, but interiorly, I haven't seen any deliberation on whatever was said, that an exchange or whatever. I haven't seen any deliberation, so I won't speak about something. For the time being, I'll tell you.
Let me ask you this though, but is it possible under French law for a member of a government to donate land to that government that he or she is a part of?
I will answer this way. It is always difficult and very ticklish. You know why? Because behind there's always an advantage. The question is, what advantage would that procure? You can do a donation. That's perfectly normal. There are conditions in which you can do it. There are criteria in which you can do it. You cannot just say, like you're running your own personal business, okay, I'm going to do a donation to this club or this association. No. You have strict rules and regulations. The problem, and again, that's why I don't know, so I won't speak more about it. The problem will come when they would see if there was a specific advantage that was given to that elected person, whoever it can be, that would have an exchange on a parcel or even a sale. What would be the advantage that would be given to that elected member would be probably inspected. And that way you can have situation with elected person selling or leasing or exchanging properties. Yeah, it's not impossible. It's just how it's done and what it will procure as advantage.
Well, I don't know if there's anything that you want to add before we go.
Maybe briefly tackle something that was not tackled as yet when we talk. You see, again, Oral, sometimes I'm very passionate in when I talk about certain problematics and certain issues, because I know every time I come here, as a matter of fact, when you invite me, most of the time I decline the invitation because I said, Oral, I like to come when I have something tangible to give to the people and not always repeat the same thing or say the same thing. And I've been doing my research and my homework on certain things. And when we say certain things towards certain situations, it's because we know the rules and regulations. We're going to take the water issue. We know we have a water issue on the French side. We have electricity issues as well on both sides. And we do have to work in common to be able to solve those problems and seek solutions that will cost less to the entire island by working together. But nevertheless, they signed a convention between the collectivité, the state, and the Dutch government and GB to sell water or to provide water to the French side when we have problem filling up our tanks and we don't have enough quantity. And I told Mr. the President of the collectivity, this cannot happen unless you have an authorization from the ARS. The ARS, as equivalent on the Dutch side, is the institution that gives you rules and regulation on all health issues. And if you and they are autonomous, and if you don't have their authorization, you can sign all the conventions, all the MOUs that you want. It's not going to happen and that has never been done. So we told them, stop doing publicity of things that you're boosting to say, oh, we've done that. But if that was the case, I mean, we could have done it 100 times. But the thing is, at the end of the day, could it happen? Did you hear about GB selling water to the French side as yet? Did you hear about GB giving water to the French side as yet? Never. Because that convention was signed doesn't mean that you had authorization. The ARS, and I went through it. I didn't have no problem working with GB. At my time, when we had issues with the water, our staff and our team went to discuss the same way with GB. Everybody was okay except the ARS. And that's why I told the president, stop fooling the people with all the good things that you're doing in the water. This, you signed a convention. You did not have the authorization from ARS. So when you talk about something, go to the fullest. As long as you don't have that document, you cannot function. You cannot take water from the Dutch side. That's it. And why I'm saying that, Oriol? I'm saying that because for everything is the same thing. What we just discussed, the airline company, you need a document that was called the CTA, which is an agreement that is given by the company, by an institution called DGAC, who delivers that authorization. And when they deliver that authorization, you have two parts. You have a part in that institution that works on the economic part, and the one on the other side that works on the technical part. So they both, you need to show to both the guarantees financially for the economic part, and for the other one, the technicality of the planes that you want the authorization for. So when they give you that authorization, they give you authorization stating financially you're okay, and the planes that are listed on the paper are okay. They got an authorization just for the financial part, with all the problematics financially that I spoke about. But they didn't get it for the planes to fly because there was, on that sheet of paper that I saw, finally, after asking X, Y, Z time, that there was no plane mentioned. We never saw that organization giving out a document stating economically you can fly, but technically you don't have no plane that have an authorization to fly. But I will be coming after. There's no temporary agreement. That's the first time that it was given that way. So you can imagine the political pressure that shows me that there was more than behind the collectivity. There's also with the state taking decision on certain things that are not legal. So what I want to bring through here is that we don't talk just to be opposition. We talk to bring points, and if we have decent answers on what we're bringing to the table, we don't have no problem. We said that, oh, but you justify by this, okay. But when you give me a justification, well, you know, with opposition, we have the majority, so we can pass it, okay. Oh, but you know, we done more in depth in it, and we done so far in it, let us continue. No, that's not correct answers for me. That's my job as opposition, to show to the population that the things that have been done, most of the time, are done the wrong way. And you know what? The report that will be coming out will show what are the good things and what are the bad things. Who did the good things and who did the bad things. And it will be clear. So it won't be the time to say at that time, oh, it was the previous government, or, oh, no, they're saying that, but we don't have to follow the indications of what that chamber says. Yes, but along the road and during your campaign, you said that you were going to follow the requirements. His program, Mr. Messenton, was to follow the requirements of the CTC, who did their report, the AFA, which is another institution that said that, and Michel Petit had it in his pocket, the two reports, walking on radio from radio, TV from TV, and showing how corrupted that government was, talking about our government. But today, when that report comes out, I hope that they will walk to all the radios and all the TV with it to show the people what exactly is going on in that house.
Well, they haven't been on this station, so I really know about that. Yeah.
If you're boosting to show all what you're going to do, at a moment, you have to boost and show the result of what you've done.
So that's basically... I'm sure we can talk for a lot more.
We can keep talking, because with all the work that is done today, they can say, thank God we left money inside the collectivity, that they never said the contrary. They said we were sitting on tons of money. So that money was there for specific projects to participate in those projects. So we know we left a healthy collectivity with all the trouble that we had. And the projects that were programmed and sent out is those that are happening today.
But you were saying this program, and the president went berserk, and his supporters, when you mentioned that they were benefiting, you planted the seed, and now they were benefiting from the harvest. They got very angry.
Yeah, I know, but that's the truth today.
Yeah. So, my concern really is the part where the aircraft, on the close-up, I want to ask you, 18 million spent, 1.5 aircraft flying. I said 1.5 because one of the smaller aircraft. Yeah. Where do we go from here? How long can this, because as I said, Martin, I want to see this airline work well, and because the competition between St.Martin, Guadeloupe and Martinique with one airline will really drive up the price of air travel.
The airline strategies in general is according to who is there and who's selling what. Today, a ticket cannot go lower than 250 euros. And for 250 euros, when I talk to other airlines, they're losing money.
Yeah.
But it is the competition to say, when you say you're selling tickets 250 euro, you're not selling 250 euros multiplied by X place in the plane. You're selling maybe 5 seats at 250 euros. All the rest, you will see when you go in the plane, you ask who's next to you, how much they pay. Nobody never pays the same price, practically. Right. Because the good price they advertise on is not the price that you have for the total cabin.
Just a limited amount of seats at that price.
Of course. I'm not going to learn how things work. I mean, what they show in advertisement is not always right. what is there. So when you come and buy a ticket, your ticket is 450, sometime even more. Yeah, but you bought it last minute. No, but you advertised that the seats was 250. So the little games and the little publicity that they do, they know that's fake. And that cannot last ever. You ask the question, how long? I don't know, Oral. I don't know. I just know one thing. Of all the figures that I have, of all the information that I have on the airline company, it cannot go further than a bankruptcy. Again, sorry to say it. And when again, and the reason I'm like this is that when you have one of the a 40% shareholder who doesn't put 1 cent in the bucket, it doesn't show me a nice sign, a sign of faith to say, okay, you know what, everybody is doing an effort, everybody is trying to go forward, but let's go forward legally.
So then you
show me that you have the same love that you want us to put in the money, our public money. Show us that you are doing the same on your side, and that's the point that everybody's going to be asking at the end. Why didn't you emphasize more on asking your first partner before you come back to the collectivity? It's time for you to put it in the bucket.
So this 18 million could have been gone to other social projects then.
Other projects in general, I know they took a loan of 10 million for the functioning of the collectivity. So when you start taking loans, it's because financially you don't have enough incomes coming in.
Yeah.
We
Well,
saw strangely some land tax augmenting. I just want to recall to the population that
Land
for
tax?
5 years, yes, land tax that went up, that increased drastically. And as I say, I tried my best during my whole mandate not to augment 1 cent of taxes, and I didn't. When you augment taxes, you have to deliberate. So I have the proof there. But now we're coming to a situation where I'm sure that they're going to be in need of money, and there will not be any other alternative than raising taxes.
wow. For us that don't know much about this whole situation,
You know what they tell you?
I know, but what is the French government doing right now?
Well, that's the question that I've been asking also for those issues. Where is the French government? What is the reaction of the French government? Why nothing is said? Sometimes they boost on certain things that you're like, okay, yeah, but the important part and the important things, we're not hearing you on that. So we are questioning. I am questioning because I know how, impressive they was during my mandate. Everything they had to say. Even where they didn't have to say, they had to say. But there is the president friends, maybe. I don't know, because that's what he tells us regularly. It's not a thing. It's not about being friends. Like they say in English, when it hits the fan, everybody opens the umbrella. And sooner or later, that's what's going to happen.
Let's hope everybody have an umbrella.
I hope so for them. A strong one.
Well, I want to wish you all the best. And in closing, any final remark? Very good.
No, just send my regards to all your viewers. And thank you for having me here, Oral. I know constantly you're asking, and most of the time I'm reluctant because, as I say, I like to come with things that I can deliver, the things that I talk about, that I do have the information to back it up. And I hope you have me in December when that final report will come out, and I will be able to emphasize a little bit more and give you more details of what I'm saying today that I couldn't say.
All right. So again, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Former president of the collectivity of St. Martin, President Daniel Gibbs. I'll see you next time on Speaking About Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. See you next time. Take care. Bye.